Hi everyone, my name is Caitlin. I'm facilitating this room. So the first presenter is Sophie May with experimenting with E-Coli. So before this happens, please silence all your phones. Please take the time to pay attention and stuff. And yeah, I'll just pass the time over.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sophie, and my project is called Experimenting with E-Coli. So, E. coli is a bacteria that typically lives in your intestines, and most of the time it's very beneficial to you, and it's not dangerous at all. But sometimes when it mutates, it can become deadly. And the way that you get sick from it is by ingesting it through water. And the way it typically gets into water is through feces from livestock and humans and other animals. So, my project was about how long E. coli could survive in natural conditions. We know that it can live in water, but I didn't know how long it could live in things like soil. So what I was testing was how long it could survive in different conditions in soil. So I tested the sunlight levels, the temperatures, the humidity, and the soil moisture, and then I had a base and a control. And I would culture over the span of a month, and I would see how much each different variable grew. And I was hoping that everything would grow, which was true, everything grew really well. But my hypothesis was that the sunlight, water levels, and humidity, and the soil moisture would make the warm climate thrive and the cold climate would die off. But that's not how my experiment went at all. In fact, the high humidity was the one that thrived best, and it had really high colonies on each experiment, and the low humidity grew very little. So these results show that when you're testing for E. coli, all of it will live really well. And this affects our climates and the way we live because, especially in Durango, people go camping a lot, right? And in camping places where they don't have bathrooms, we often go out into the forest for the bathroom, and like our animals and stuff do as well. But E. coli lives really, really long in soil, and the soil here has conditions that could very well represent these. So when we're camping and stuff, we know that the E. coli, if it gets washed through the soil with water, could live for up to a month at least. So everybody just thinks if they bury everything, it'll be fine, but in fact it won't because it lives for quite a while. And so this also affects impoverished places because if they do not have the proper equipment for treating water, this is where they typically become really sick. And this is the main bacteria that infects people over there because it's just so common. So yeah, any questions?
Do you want to show some of these? Click through. You can just click the mouse.
Okay. So this is me culturing the bacteria, and that is putting E. coli into all the different samples, and then these are all the different cultures that I took, and as you can see, they all grew. And then these are other cultures, so the base over there grew nothing, and then the low humidity grew quite a bit, the low temperature didn't grow anything, and then the high temperature grew quite a bit. And then this is how I measured temperature and humidity. The percentage is how humid it is, and then the number in the corner is the temperature, and then this is me controlling the humidity for the different samples. And then these are my results. So the high humidity and the low moisture survived really well, and then the low humidity and the high temperature were the ones that didn't survive very well, as well as the high sunlight. So yeah. Yes.
How many different tests did you do?
So I had 10 different variables, including the control, and then I cultured 3 times. So,
How long did it take to test?
so each time you culture, it took about 2 hours or 3 hours. So yeah. So the soil was just from like a bag of soil that you get at the store, and then E. coli I injected into the soil from K12 E. coli, which is just a non-pathogenic version of E. coli. So yeah. Any other questions?
What, with this information, what do you want to do next?
So with this information, I think the best step for me to take is to just share it with people like MSI, because I think that like I probably couldn't do a whole lot to change things, but I think the most important thing would to just be like installing bathrooms and campsites and that kind of thing. So I think that's the main way that it can get into our water systems.
Would you use this data in any way if, when you're telling people how to recreate in the same ones?
Yes, I would tell them that typically, especially if you're close to water sources with pets or yourself, to be really, really careful. Like pick up after your dog, and if you're camping and you have the option between a place with bathrooms or no bathrooms, choose a place with bathrooms.
May's amazing project, thank you. Next we're on to Gavin Steifel. Okay, so here's his project.
You just click the mouse and that should do it.
Hi, my name is Gavin, and this is my project M.A.R.C, which stands for Modified Aerodynamics on a Model Race Car. And a Formula 1 car is a racing sport with a car just like this. They have 20 teams, and every year, well, every race, they change tires up to 3 times, and they have 20 cars, so they 240 tires go to waste after a race. And in the 1950s, they started out with just 1 tire, and that just shows how Formula 1 cars have changed over the years. And they have also changed the fuel, and they use more fuel now than in the 1950s, which just makes sense, because now they go faster, which they need more fuel. And one way they could change that is by creating more air intakes to clean the air more, and a better engine that takes less fuel and increase the cars to the same speed as they are now. And my big question was, what aerodynamic change slows the car and speeds up the car more? My hypothesis was, if an F1 model car is modified in 3 different ways, first front wing off, second normal, and third boxing up the rear wing, then the normal F1 car may be faster or slower and have a faster time or a slower time. Because of the change on the exterior of the car, the aerodynamics of the car slow it down or speed it up. And the procedure was to release the car on 3, and then on 1, and then my dad would start the timer, and then would stop the timer when it crosses the line at the end of the board, and we would do that 8 more times, and then add that up, and then we would do that same thing for two different changes on the car, and my results came to that normal was the fastest, which makes sense because it's got the aerodynamics that it's supposed to have. The front wing, having the front wing removed was probably, I would say, second slowest, even though the average was the same as of adding flaps to the box on the rear wing. And because we had to do that is because the times on the box were just the same as when the car was normal. And that's the one change we had to add. And I think it supported my hypothesis because I was expecting for having the rear wing box up and the front wing removed to be slower than normal, which makes sense. And the results were
It's clicking here.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Whatever.
Let's get your slides.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought you did.
So my results were normal was the fastest with an average of 2.09. The front wing remove was 2.29, and the same was for having the back wing, rear wing box up. Any questions?
How many different tests did you do?
I did 9 trial runs for 3 different changes. Also,
Are there any electric formula tests?
no, because it would be very hard and it cost a lot more just to create an electric engine. And they try to save money so they can change the cars for the next year. And they still wouldn't have enough money. They get almost like $1 billion at the end of the year. And they still wouldn't have enough to create a full car and an electric engine or hybrid, which they're creating right now. They're creating hybrids, and they're trying to get some electric into it. So,
What kind of gas mileage does a Formula One car get?
4 miles per gallon. Yeah.
And now we have Jerum reader with magnetic transportation system.
You can advance your slides with just clicking left click on the mouse will advance to your slides.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's everyone doing this morning? My project is the magnetic transportation system because much like everyone else, I have also put much ideas into changing the future and better ways to transport or transportation. I've had many runs with this project, many failures and many things. The diagram that is sadly not on any of my slides, but you guys will be able to see it after this presentation. This diagram is shown or arrived in one of my idea books about within the last 24 hours. So yeah, it was very. I had roughly 20 ideas on how to make this diagram efficient, and yet all 25 has failed except for this one, which has many improvements that could be made. The first one I tried was iron. Now, obviously, I started from scratch instead of doing my research, which was a hassle, but I wanted to do more of the fun. The iron, of course, did not work. And I've tried aluminum foil, a couple other metals, right? And here is a small diagram of what cart would make or cart would look like in was there is 3 on this far left corner. There's 3 magnets. 2 on the outside are negative, and the one in the middle is a positive, also holding a positive on top of the pedestal sticks, which you can see in this diagram. Now, some benefits of the magnetic transportation system. It's faster, could be faster, right? We know that for sure. It could be safer, could be. And another way is that it could also lower our fossil fuel rates. Any questions so far? Yes.
So with the
Or would it have to be on a certain track or are we talking about?
Yes, on a track. A track that is made by magnets that perform greater negative force than the positive force of forces. Yes.
With the truck and the car both being like magnetic, would it be safer?
Yes and no. Yes, because there are some metals out there that react to different sides of both magnets. And no, because I have yet to find out how to navigate fishing. Yes,
How would you control the speed?
that is a very good question. A thought of mine was, let's see. Oh, never mind, it just kind of flew. Good question. Yeah.
On top of that instead of under, that way.
That is a great one. That might work. We'll try that one
Can
next.
you repeat that? I didn't hear that. What did you say?
He said if we were to change or put the car underneath the tracks instead of on top to see if it runs better. Right?
You said that it could save fossil fuels. How?
Well, gas right now, right? It's very limited, right? Okay, maybe I can start on that. I have a minute left. Okay, well, then we'll skip to this one right here. What are some obstacles, right? The obstacles, of course, are creating mass, like the right mass of the cart would have to roughly be equivalent to the mass of the magnet itself, which would then cause it to levitate without having any casualties like that. Of course, stabilizing tracks would also help it be stabilized. Any other further questions? Yes.
How far would you say it would hover off the ground?
Right now, with the magnets, right now, like with these magnets, I would say roughly around an inch. But with bigger magnets, of course, it'll probably be roughly a couple of feet. Anything else? No? All right, I think. Okay, yeah, well, we kind of covered that. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay. So that was Jerum Reader, and now we have a session break, I think.
So now it'll be the poster session up in the ballroom. So we can all just kind of make our way up there. Feel free to go to the bathroom. If you have to break, or just go straight there. Great job. It is awesome. Hey, how's it going, Elliot?
Very nice. How's it
It's
going?
working. It's going. We've had some hiccups, but it's going.
Well, that's part of the course, I guess.
Yeah.
So funny, Jerum is in my class.
Oh, awesome.
He's one of my classes.
That was great.
Yeah, I know.
You just got me this presentation. You're supposed to do a presentation. Great job. Thanks. That was the most questions I've seen, which means people were really interested. I'm so glad that you made it.
I have been delivering your magnets and your iron disc to Angie, and so I really wanted to see where.
Well, I was just gonna float around, I guess.
Yeah. So poster session now up in the ballroom,
Okay.
and then tours after lunch.
Okay, cool. And so I have classes on the lab, so I can't.
Tours. I mean, I don't know.
I was planning to stay for the whole day.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry.
It's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I was
Okay,
supposed to
well,
remove this.
I don't want to
'cause-
bother you, so.
No, you're fine. I just was, I
Um,
forgot I was supposed to grab this recording before I took that out.
Can I ask, are you, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm
So-
just gonna